And welcome back to another episode of the Convoluted podcast. It's your host, Jesus, aka Tyrant Dominus, and I'm here with the artistic, fantastic Dwen.
Well, thank you.
Hey,
It's nice to be back.
Hey, I'm glad to have you back. Like I said, like I was telling you a little earlier, I'm collecting the gauntlet of no inner monologue, little by little.
I know that slowly but surely, but Manny has been on this thing for a while now. Where he's like, we should do a reunion, and I'm like, I don't know if anybody wants this. Everybody wants this reunion per se, but he also jokes about the fact that like when we ended our podcast, it was 2019 December, and then he's like, the world went crazy after that. We need to come back, and I'm like, we're not the Avengers.
Was it really that towards the end of the latter half of that?
Yeah, we our last episode was on Christmas Day, 2019.
Oh wow, okay.
And then things sort of.
Oh yeah.
Things sort of went.
Things hit the fan at that point.
Little known fact. I don't think it was big news or anything. So.
No. It's not like we were all like stranded and abandoned for millennia. Yeah. Well, it felt like forever. But yeah, so how have you been? It's been like we spoke a little bit earlier, but how have you been? How has the last couple days, week been? How are you?
I'm good. We've been sort of. I've been sort of mostly, like again, I think the rest of the world trying to survive a little bit, figuring out what's been going on, but also just been concentrating on my art and drawing and trying to catch and do as many fun things as the world and the law allows. But it's been fun. It's been good. I can't complain. It's been it's nothing crazy to talk about. Just I guess I think like the Hamilton song says, I'm drawing like I'm running out of time. So we'll go with that.
Well, yeah. So if anyone wants to, I'll have links down below for Dwen's Instagram and TikTok. I believe that's where you post most of your arts and stuff like that. Yeah. Like it's wonderful. I like checking out things. It's very relevant for whatever's happening. So sometimes I can even catch up. Like, what is that a reference to? Things like that. It's fun. I generally do enjoy your art and stuff like that. So everyone like follow him. What is the tag? Not tag.
It's on Instagram and on TikTok. It's dweniedrawsstuff. So DWENIE draws stuff.
There you guys go.
It's very descriptive.
There you go. But links down below. Go follow him if you want to enjoy some fun art and things like that. But yeah, it's been a while. It's great to catch up with everyone, and we're gonna be jumping into some of these crazy stories because like we were just looking over, and I'm surprised some of the stories that I just clicked just because the titles were interesting. But Dwen has some like insider info on some of these. I'm like, okay, I'm looking forward to it. But before that, everyone, if you want to help support the show, you can share this on Twitter, formerly known as that is Twitter. Twitter is a hot mess right now. Follow us on share on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads. If you're still on Threads is also like dead at this point, but some people are still on there. If not, word of mouth. Word of mouth is one of the best ways you can share about the show. Tell a friend, tell a family member, shove it in their face. Just let them know. It really helps. But if you want to help us financially, you can always pick up some merch at merch.tyrantdominus.com. All the links down below. It helps us support the show and all the small projects that we go along the way. So let's jump into the story. So the article, I'll read the title, and I'm like, so a family sues Google, alleging its map app led father to drive off a collapsed bridge to his death, attorney says. So just reading that, suing Google is big. Suing Google is big. So so what happened? Let's find out. So Google has been sued by a family of a North Carolina man claiming that the company's map application last year led him to drive off a collapsed bridge and fall about 20 feet to his death, according to the lawsuit. Philip Paxson was following Google Maps direction while driving home late at night in September 2022 from his daughter's 9th birthday party when the navigation system directed him to go over an unmarked and unbarricaded bridge that had collapsed years prior. Paxson drove off the unbarricaded edge of the bridge in Hickory, North Carolina, and drowned, the suit says. Okay, before we go any further, like, whoa. So... are you a Google Maps user, or like what do you use? I think
so. In this household, it's a Google Maps / Waze household. We tend to lean more into Waze, but I guess they're owned by Google anyway. So like these,
like just a sister company, at this point.
Yeah. So I guess we're Google Maps home for sure.
Now, how confident are you usually? Like, I'm Google Maps. I like Google at this point knows like how fast I'm going. I'm like surprised it's not like telling the police near me like he's speeding right now. Like, catch him, bruh. But we're Google's here. Actually, me and my brother are, because everyone else is iPhone users, so they use something else, whatever iPhones have.
Apple Maps, I guess. Yeah,
it's something. But how confident are you mostly with your Google directions?
So in the city where we live in, like in the city where we live in, pretty confident. Like even going out of it, we've used it quite a bit. I would think if I was in an area where I didn't know what was happening or what was going on, I'd be a little bit more careful, because obviously, like, I don't know. I have friends. Like, here's the thing. We very recently, about 2 weeks ago, we went to a friend's place who lives 2 hours out of the way. They live 2 hours up north. They're in the country, and we used Google Maps to get to their place. And my first instinct would be, Google basically like maps out all these places with their cars. I don't know how much they go out of the giant cities to like update those kind of things, right? To go into like a countryside or whatever. So my guess is like when they do that kind of stuff, you have to sort of pay a little bit of attention to the areas around, because they, things change, places change, right? So that's my guess. But I would say I would err on the side of Google more times than not if I didn't know where I was. Like Waze, especially. I mean, with Waze, you're almost like, it'll give you a route that you may not take all the time, but you're trusting that it knows what the traffic is like.
At that point, you're like, okay, you know my way home. Like, just I'm following your lead. Yeah. You are my co-pilot at that point.
This is the fastest way to get home. I guess this is what we'll do, right?
Yeah. At this point, I am, for the most part, I know very little routes to certain places unless I'm like, I go there very, very frequently. Even to some places that I've been there under a dozen times, I still have to use Google Maps. I don't know. I think, like, did you grow up during the time with the maps? That,
like, actual maps?
The maps, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like I would have, my father made me read those things when we took trips and things like that. Like, I don't think I could do that anymore if I really was. And
yeah, I would imagine there's very few people who can actually like open up one of those maps or map books and figure out exactly where they were. Like when I first started driving was when MapQuest like came into the world. And so, I remember I had a sales job at the time. So my car was filled with printed out paper
yeah.
on how to get to places. And I'm surprised I didn't get into more car accidents when that happened, because you're just constantly like number 6 says I should have turned back there. Like,
my God. Oh, bruh. But yeah, for the most part, I think most everyday people just use their GPS. It's like, I think it's just second nature at this point. It's just, people don't need like, just like how people rarely remember phone numbers. Like I only know my phone number and my parents. That's it. That's all I know. Like I used to be able to remember multiple people's phone numbers, but now it's not like because I don't have
Yeah.
to. I don't have to. They're like everything's on my basically everything's on your phone at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let's
Right?
exactly.
Yeah.
But let's continue. Let's see what. Okay, so what is this lawsuit actually like? Because, like I said, suing Google is big. That's not That is not yeah. It's one of those things like Google's just gonna give you hush money at that point. You know, like
Yeah.
here, like. So let's see. The lawsuit claims neighbors have expressed concerns Google Maps had led drivers over the bridge. Oh, so there's more than one driver. Wow. Okay. Which alleged has not been repaired since the partial collapse in 2013. So what is that? 20 wait, so
10 years.
10 years. Oh, so 10 years. People's like, "Hey, can you like you got to fix the bridge or Google Maps just bring your car over just like, you know,
Yeah.
10 years." Here's a quote. For years before this tragedy, Hickory residents asked for the road to be fixed or property barricaded before someone was hurt or killed. Their demands went unanswered. We discovered that Google's maps misdirected motorists like Paxson on this collapsed road for years, despite receiving complaints from the public demanding that Google fix its map and directions to mark the roads as closed. I think at this point it's just like city, I like as city based, like, hey, go to your city council. Like I don't know how if that works because like I've only been to a city hall meeting, my local one, 2 times, and that's just because they were trying to make a new school in a very very interesting area of the city, and 2 they were yeah, and the second one was they were trying to remove a portion of the cities to no longer have the ability to rent out your houses as Airbnb. So it was the only time I've ever been to a city hall meeting because that was kind of affecting my area. So I don't know if that's something that you would go, but it sounds like something you would like go to your city hall, talk to your reps, like, hey, that's dangerous, fix it. That's what the city money's for, even though we know where some money goes sometimes. But
Yeah.
that's yeah. What are your thoughts?
I mean, look, I, you know what? It's one of those things. Sometimes you hear these stories, and they're like, people are suing Google because of this, and you're like, that's a little crazy. But I mean, in this case, they provide a service. Granted, it's free, but they provide a service that people can use to direct them how to get somewhere. You would assume safely. I guess that's not necessarily the agreement we have with them, but the unspoken agreement we have with them. But I guess in this case, this gentleman passed away, unfortunately, and yeah, just I mean, for 10 years, this road's been broken, and if they've had, I guess it depends on. I guess in this case, it depends on if they have enough emails or communications with the city in some way to be like, where they can prove that, hey, you guys knew this was broken, and you still didn't update it or whatever, right? Because I think if you're on, can you contact them if like the car drives by and captures something it shouldn't capture for privacy reasons? Can you contact Google and tell them like, hey man, take that off the map?
Yes, if it's in within your area, like say capture your face or something, like they still blur your face, but there's some certain things. Like there's a Reddit where there's like people capture like things like before Google's able to like wipe it. Like there's people caught masturbating or robbing, things like that. Like there's people out there who their hobby or job at this point, never know. It's just to scroll through Google Maps and catch these like little moments before it gets destroyed with Google.
Crazy.
But yeah, it's from what I'm looking here, it's still in litigations. We won't know for sure. It's sad to say, the family lost a husband and father. Because it shouldn't have happened. Like point blank, it shouldn't have happened. It's like this is really I'm putting more blame on the city. Like this is like if you your populace saying, hey, we don't care at this point. Like, we don't care if you fix it. Just put a giant do not enter road something, right?
Yeah, that's true.
They didn't have to fix. They didn't even have to put money in that. Just buy a giant chunk of rock saying road closed. That's it.
I hope. Yeah, I like for sure. If this thing's been broken for 10 years, there should be something to stop people from going over it. But it's not. Yeah.
But that's the other thing is, I will say that, like we were saying earlier, a lot of people use like maps, Google, anything, any GPS system. We trust it, I think, a little too honestly sometimes, and we blind drive. And that's what's like. It's like recently I had a family member driving out at night, and they almost got sideswiped just because they mistook a wrong turn, and as they were trying to back up, because the Google Maps was saying like just make a U-turn, and they decided to do that, they almost it was like in a hilly area, they almost tipped their car over the hill and almost like tumbled over. And it's like one of those things, like Google, like those U-turn ones, I'm like I'll find an area and just make a big loop instead of making a U-turn, you know. I know that lesson. But some people just like,
I've seen the U-turn thing on Google too, where they're like, just make the U-turn. And at least in Ontario, in the bigger cities, Ontario, Canada, in the biggest cities, you're not allowed to make a U-turn. That's not a legal turn. So
it's I think
not paying attention, it'll get you.
Exactly. So I think Google does have some fault on that. For as much as it's harder to get in the rural areas, it's not impossible, you know. But I would say city first, then Google. When it comes to these articles, just having the Google title on the thing, I'll just say like, we sue Google on the episode. But yeah, it's really sad, disappointing. But best wishes to the family, because that's all sadly we can do. But let's jump into a more like very interesting story. So, a teacher was caught with meth hidden in scrunchie at a family fun night school event, reports say. So, what would you do if you were at your kids' thing and then like you hear in the distance like, what is this and everything? What would your initial reaction be?
I mean, yeah. So I'm sure we've all been to one of these events over the years, and these school ones, probably when we were kids. I don't have any kids of my own, so I can't say that I've been to one of them as an adult. But they could be pretty boring. I'm sure, like, if you have party favors, it's good to share.
Fuck me, right?
Yeah, that's crazy though. That's like both of us have long hair now.
Yes.
I don't even know how you would hide cocaine in a scrunchie.
So I don't wear a scrunchie. I wear just a hair tie myself, or a headband sometimes, or a headband.
Yeah.
Some of those scrunchies are
cut it up.
Some of those scrunchies are pretty big, and like those I could see it. Like some of them can, like, if you like cut a seam, I could see it.
I guess so, but then you think the whole scrunchie is filled with cocaine?
Well, we can find out in a moment. So let's find out. An Indiana teacher was arrested last week after allegedly wearing a hair scrunchie containing hidden meth to school functions.
Sorry, my bad. I thought this was cocaine. It's meth. It's even worse.
Yeah, it's even worse. Students discovered that their teacher, Sarah Duncan, had been hiding the drug in her scrunchie while attending a family fun event at doesn't matter what school. Both juveniles.
Is it actually? Yeah, I wanted to just know: is it a high school or is it a junior high? Or
it says academy.
School?
Let me just do a quick.
Okay.
Let me just do a quick Google search. What would be worse? That's my question to you.
Yeah, I want, in my mind's eye, I say elementary school would be worse, because at least high school students would maybe not try it, but you can be dumb in high. We've all been dumb in high school.
Oh, it's K through 12. So
Goodness.
So everything.
Okay, cool.
Everything. So yeah, so there we don't discriminate about any grades here. No, everything. It's everything. Both juveniles stated that Duncan let her hair down for photos. After the photos, the juveniles cleaned up the area and located a bluish-colored velvet-type scrunchie with white zipper on the table. So there you go. They noticed the scrunchie was heavier than the typical scrunchie. They opened the zipper pouch and observed a glass vial that contained a white powder substance that the two believed to be drugs, along with a cut straw with white powder.
This has to be the most efficient scrunchie in the world.
I was like, how the heck do you... That's so much just to have in your head. Like, what?
Yeah.
Like...
And I guess she took a hit before she took pictures with took the pictures because she had her hair up and decided to I don't know, maybe this was a bit,
hey, maybe teachers get annoyed with parents too, you know. She can only
a tough gig, man. It's a tough
gig. It sounds like juveniles. I would say, well, I would consider juveniles like early teens, like 13, 14. That's when I would think. So yeah, I could see like I got to deal with these kids and all these adults.
Got to deal with their families.
Oh my god. So when Duncan was brought to the police for drug testing, the officials said they observed that her trying to falsify her results. Okay, what did she do to try to falsify?
This should be a movie. This story.
While conducting the third test, the officer observed an unauthorized collection of containers fall from Duncan's shorts. The test was terminated and documented as a failure for the attempts to alter the test. After failing drug tests, Duncan was reportedly fired from school. That's good. Duncan later told police that she's been wearing similar scrunchies to that event, but not wearing the one found containing the drug. So she's saying she's being framed. But no, yeah, I get being a teacher these days is not the most rewarding thing. It doesn't pay well. It's very underappreciated. But man, taking a hit while you're out there.
My name is Jeff.
Now, I'm throwing in a new fun fact to this whole thing.
Go for it.
Not fact. I said fact. That's not true. A new wrinkle to this whole thing. What if she just happened to buy a whole bunch of these scrunchies from like Etsy, right? And they're like, oh, they got zips. You can just store stuff in them. She buys a whole bunch of them. One of them happens to have meth in them that she doesn't know about.
Yeah, maybe she just wanted to try it. Like, you know what? Maybe tonight's the night. Yeah. Tonight's the night. I'm gonna. I don't want to. I know you have stories set up, but I have this one story that kind of connects to this. Not connects, but it's similar to this story. Go for it.
That I read about this morning that I can just tell you about real quick. So, a pilot for British Airways just recently got fired because he had flown to Johannesburg and was as part of some sort of like crazy night with these two girls that he met and did cocaine the night before.
Okay.
And then was going to try and fly the next day back to, I guess, Britain or whatever. And the whole thing came across was because he like was kind of bragging about this story to one of the flight attendants. It was just like, had a crazy night last night, met up with these two girls. You know, somebody brought out cocaine. We tried a little bit. He's like, I've never done it before. He's like, I slept with one of the girls. And anyways, I think I'm okay now, but like, you know, I'm going to try and fly. And so the flight attendant like contacted the airline and was like, he's on coke. Don't let him fly. And so he ended up losing his job, but apparently he's also married, so that made him feel over soon too.
Bro, it's like everyone just like the second that something like hellacious happens or just like go. And
you know what? I'm already I guess they're just like, I'm already fucked up. Let's go big.
Go big. I got like, you know, this ruined my marriage. It's fine. I'm doing coke. I can blame the coke. Oh my god!
I didn't know what I was doing.
That's my what is it? My statement. I don't know what I was doing.
Yeah,
I was high.
It's not me.
So I was kind of while you're looking, I was looking up scrunchies with zippers. They sell them by the dozen. Apparently, I didn't know about this, but they're literally just little pouches. They're like
So my wife has one that's a scrunchie, like it's a full scrunchie, and then the bottom of it is a bag, like an actual bag.
A bag? Wait, bag? What do you mean?
Like a little bag, like a little fanny pack. Like imagine a tiny fanny pack.
Oh, okay. So that's what
But
I'm looking at.
Instead of the straps that you would put, it becomes a scrunch. It becomes a scrunchie.
That's what I'm looking at. So that's what she had. So that's what she had.
So just speaking from experience, those always sound like a good idea, but like again, you're putting way more weight on your head than you need to.
That's what I'm thinking. That's exactly what I'm thinking because for like I think for you and me, I don't. Do you tie your hair back ever, or is it always just a headband?
I tie it back. Yeah.
So for me, I try to avoid tying it back as much because I've never learned how to properly do it. The only time I let people do it is when my sister does it because she can do it properly. Because every time I do it, I'm like I tie it too tight where it's my head starts to hurt after a certain period of times. And for anyone in the go for it.
You do the Ariana Grande. That was apparently her whole thing. That she had the whole ponytail look for the first couple of albums and then stopped doing it because it just gave her headaches.
Yeah, Mike. So for the most part, like I can't do if I can't do it, it's like because then if I do it too loose, it just like the whole thing. That's why I do the headband. I do the headband my thing myself.
You know what? For me, it's the hair touching the top of my ears that bugs me. This is I don't know why. This is the longest my hair has ever been. I've never grown it like
really.
Yeah, basically I used to cut it quite when I grew up going to school. They used to have a hair length rule. So we had to, like it was short, and then in my 20s I let it grow out. But my hair is curly, so naturally curly, so it'd be like a fro, and so I just let it grow as a fro. And then cut it every couple of months or whatever. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, fuck it. Let's just, let's try something new. So I've kind of let it grow since. So
hey, it's the new look. It's the look for it's our look now. We embrace it. And we're looking good. We're looking good.
But now we know if we ever need to do illicit drugs, what kind of scrunchie to buy.
I know, right? They're pretty cheap. Like you get a 4-pack for $5 American. So
that's amazing.
But let's kind of jump into Canada because I'm a bit of a thrill seeker here. But sometimes I haven't been on an amusement park ride in a while, and I'm like I'm pretty good at them. But it's stories like this, where I worry. So thrill seekers left dangling upside down for 30 minutes on amusement park ride. Wait, what? Amusement park ride. I don't know why it took me forever to read that. So
the double parks, I get it.
So I'm kind of just watching the video a little bit, and it's one of those like it's axes from what I'm like. So I'm describing for the listeners. It's one of those like swing rides where you're hanging, dangling, sitting down. You're like above. And you just get swinged in a circle from what I can speculate here. And people are just straight up 90 degrees upside down. I've had a minor fear of this, but it's one of those things like, it's not going to happen to me, right? It's like, how are you with rides and the like?
So I both love and hate roller coasters, right? So like, I truly I think I love going on these kind of rides and enjoy the hell out of them when I'm there because they're like, when you're on them, you're friggin' like your whole body is just like, what are you doing? this is not how we're supposed to be living our life. But it's so much fun. The thing I think I hate the most, I'm not a general big fan of roller coasters that like do the loop-de-loops. The upside downs of it scare me a lot, especially because a lot of the newer rides, I think, are just like, I'm almost convinced people who create roller coaster rides are like insane people.
They are. No, I think that's a boy flame pet.
Right?
It's a fact. Have you not played Roller Coaster Tycoon? If you're the guy who makes those really crazy ones, you're crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and more I've been noticing, like with roller coasters especially, right? Like there's one, so at this particular park where this happened is called Canada's Wonderland. And it's not terribly far from where I live. It's the biggest roller coaster. It's the biggest amusement park uh in Toronto, at least. I don't know of any other ones. I would say Ontario, but for sure in Toronto, it's the biggest one. So like this place. The fact that whenever this place opens up, that's like the sign that it's summer, because they're doing all this
Mm.
stuff. They do stuff in the wintertime as well, but like when Wonderland opens up, it's the sign that it's summer. And I'm pretty sure I've been on this particular ride. Like, it's one of those things. It sort of goes, like you said, it kind of goes like a pendulum. It swings one side, swings the other side, swings one side, and then eventually like goes all the way up, stops. You're like upside down for like 20 seconds, swings back down, stops, and then eventually goes through the whole thing, and then does one whole like 360 sort of swing. I'm pretty sure that's the same ride.
Yes, that's
And
what
it's
you're
been
describing.
around.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that it's been around for years. Like they've renamed. So this particular park used to have like Paramount branding back in the day. So like every ride was named after some sort of Paramount ride, Paramount movie, and then eventually like it changed names and changed names and changed names. But to that point, I was just saying like the reason I mentioned the park the first time was because they have a ride. It's kind of like you sit down, and what used to be like used to be like you'd have the things that like strapped onto your
Yeah.
shoulders, and then the thing that strapped. They have a thing that looks like a little triangle that just basically goes between your legs,
Okay, that's it.
and it just goes, and that's. And
What?
I refuse to go on that ride. I hate it. I'm like, no, that's too much. Um, and also I'm always of the thing that the line, the fact that you have to wait through those lines, the lines I think are the ones that always kill me. I'm like, oh my god, what am I doing? This is a stupid thing to do.
It's the level of anticipation where it's like you're excited, but then like as you're like the line is was like, I kind of don't want to do this, and it's like
Yeah.
really like I don't want to like, and then you're up there like, oh my god, I don't want to do this anymore. Once you're
Yeah.
up there, yeah.
I'm constantly of the opinion that like one of these days there's going to be a ride that comes back and there'll just be a guy who's like somebody who couldn't handle it.
All right,
so anyways, this has been big news here, right? This story has been big news here because it literally got stuck at the worst point for a half an hour, and
Yes.
there were people apparently who were like puking.
Yes.
There were.
What I've been reading is it was nearly half an hour, causing chest pains to some, inducing vomitings to another while they were dangling above bystanders. I would not want to be anyone down below that. God.
Like the longer that thing goes around, people are just like, what is happening here? There's a lineup, there's a thing. What's even, I'm sure you'll get to it the second part of the story, but this was the part that got me, was that once they fixed it and it started moving, because they were basically told like they had to, they couldn't just like get people off or whatever. Once they fixed it, it came down and then did another 2 whatever rotations, because it needed to go through those rotations before it like stopped completely. I guess the ride has like a certain number of swings or
yeah. So it had to finish its programming. So it had to finish the whole thing, and it said people could hear the entire crowd saying, "Let this end," as in unison. Like, oh god, I can only imagine if you're at there and you just hear people say, "Let this end." Oh my god, that's a horror. That's horror movie. That's like nearly Saw level of like torture at that point. Oh.
Or if you're like a super thrill seeker, that's the best bang for your buck you'll ever get on a roller coaster.
So how much money can I get you to ride this thing and record a video for me?
Yeah. Make sure you have enough space on your phone to like capture the whole 30-minute experience or whatever.
But yeah, it's rough. It's a minor fear. I think when this thing happens, I think it just peaks in our head more and more often. Kind of like how some people start to develop the fear of flying when they just hear plane crash and stuff like that. It's one of these things when this happens, because this happened a couple years ago. One of our local carnivals, one of those like traveling carnivals, Um, there was one of those swing rides where it's just a giant swings and they just go in a circle. In one of those situations, there were a person who their latch fell off and they just flew, like a couple meters away. They were just a couple scrapes, but boy, man, it could have been bad. And it's one of those things like you think that is the least scary ride. You're just on a swing, going in a circle. It's just a carousel on a swing, right? But boy, do you can get sent flying if something happens.
That is some Final Destination level like fears, like that's scary sounding,
So
actually, what's funny? Like we have at the end of summer, the middle of August to Labor Day, we have something over here called the Canadian National Exhibition.
Okay.
And what it is it's basically a big carnival. There's street food and there's shopping as well. It's all sort of centered in this one area in Toronto called the National, which is called Exhibition Place. And it's sort of like a Canadian tradition. Like basically, August hits, people know it's the CNE. Everybody goes. It's super crowded all the time. I always find it odd because I only came here when I was 15, so like I don't have the like nostalgia for it that a lot of my Canadian friends do, or my friends who were born here. But I always laugh looking at it because the big things are always the rides that look like they have not been serviced since like 1996. And the food is always like every year they're like, we have some insane like over the top unhealthy, like we bought two giant candies that are now that are in a deep fried chicken, and like there's always some weird food thing. So I'm always like, I always expected something like this to happen at that, because I was like, oh, the rides look like they're gonna break at any minute. The fact that it happened at Wonderland is insane, because that's like, the most polished of polished places. So yeah, I don't think they'll take a hit in any way, because it is definitely a one-off. They've got literally decades of good behavior, but it's still. I think if they play it right, they should actually promote this right to be the scariest one.
Now scarier 10 times. You'll be dangling for hours. You'll get your money's worth. They got half an hour in that thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes you only get a roller coaster ride for like what, a minute or two.
Yeah, at best. Yeah.
Oh God, man. But yeah, I hope for the most part this doesn't like, because it sounds like there's a couple kids on there too. I hope this doesn't kind of deter them from suffering that like
emotional damage
when it scars. It can scar people, and it's just like you just don't ever want to do things like that again. And for the most part, like it can really hamper sometimes when you want to be doing stuff like you shouldn't be afraid to then go on another ride the next time. It's good to like set some level of expectations. Like, I went through this, I need time. But it's like when an event like this, it can. I'm hoping for the most part, some of the younger people, everyone in general, but some of the younger ones, like I hope it doesn't like deter them from ever enjoying some of the future rides and any endeavor, because I'm trying to think, would it have affected me as bad? I'm trying to think here. I'm thinking about it. I would say yes to a level. I don't think I would ever go on rides like that ever again. That type of ride.
Yeah. And it also depends. I mean, truly, it depends on like how, you could have been fine, and the person, maybe you went with a few people and you guys are fine. But if you happen to be around one of these people who had the chest issues or who are puking or whatever, that can scare you, right? Seeing somebody else
suffering
in those kind of suffering can be pretty scarring as well. So, hopefully I'm glad everybody got off and was fine and all that, but dang, man.
From what
I don't mean to laugh, but it's just
it happens. Hey, we have to pull a laugh from it once in a while. So luckily, from what I was just kind of scrolling to the article, it only looks like 2 people had to seek out medical attention out of the 30 people. But yeah, it's like only 2 people, which is 2 people too many, but that's kind of good, you know.
Question for you, Jesus.
Yes.
Now, to get into Wonderland's usually about like I don't remember the pricing, but it is a little hefty. It's like maybe $40-$50 maybe to get in.
Okay.
I remember, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
But what if this was your first ride? You went on your first ride of the day, right?
Okay.
Do you stay at the park for the rest of the day?
What time of day is it?
We're saying maybe it's noon.
Noon. If am I with family and friends and the like?
You've come. I mean, you've come. I think it's rare that you come to a park by yourself. So.
Me now.
Yeah.
Me now. Yes, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, me now. Yes. If this happened like early afternoon, this happened to me. The whole commotion. The thing I'll say, like, Wonderland better be paying up hard money. So
yeah,
I better be getting like a 5-year pass, like vouchers for food. Like, they are not getting away with this. I am milking that cow from this.
Yes, okay.
You see, that is me. That is me.
We're 3 stories in, and we're suing Google and we're suing Wonderland now.
But let's kind of stay in the Great North, actually. So, because this next story, like I was telling you, we don't get into politics in the show, but we like to get into when politicians do really crazy shit. And I was surprised when this happened to you guys up in the north. So the title of the article is Canadians official apologize for praising Ukraine veteran who fought for the Nazis in World War II. So I don't know full details on this, so I'm gonna go through the article unless you have some more, a little bit more, like,
this has been a discussed topic up here, quite a bit, and unfortunately, it's a real head and hands moment. Unfortunately, it's a real. You know, when people say always do your research, yeah, this is one of those always you do your research stories. So actually, you know what? You can read it, and then we can talk about it some more. So we can go from there.
Yeah. So okay. Here it is. So, God, I'm gonna slaughter his name.
Zelensky.
No, isn't it?
Sorry.
Yaroslav Honka, 98, was sitting in the gallery and got standing ovation in Parliament after Mr. Rota said he was a hero, quote, during a visit by Ukraine President. Oh my God, I've been hearing Vladimir Zelensky. Yeah, Zelensky. You know, you hear his name so much, and I just can't say. Anyways, Canadian Jewish group CIJA said it was deeply troubled that a former member of a Nazi division that participated in the genocide of the Jews had been celebrated. It is said that this should never happen again. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was with Mr. Zelensky in Parliament at the time. Mr. Trudeau called the invite deeply embarrassing on Monday, but he did not call for Mr. Rota to resign. It's extremely upsetting that this happened. The speaker has acknowledged his mistake and apologized. But this is something that is deeply embarrassing to the Parliament of Canada and by extension to all Canadians, Trudeau stated. Thousands of Ukrainians fought on the German side during the war, but millions more were served in the Soviet Red Army. In a statement, Mr. Rota said that on 22nd of September, in my remarks following the address of the President of Ukraine, I recognized an individual in the gallery. Anything more specific? I'm trying to see if there's anything more specific. I think that's more or less the gist of it, right? He recognized someone. It turned out to be not a very good person, and they're just kind of trying to run it back a little bit. Or am I wrong in that?
No, you're basically right. So I believe this happened last week. the Ukrainian president Zelensky was in Canada for a day, I believe, and he was in Parliament. And the prime minister spoke. He spoke, and then they acknowledged. I guess because he was there, they acknowledged this quote unquote Ukrainian war hero who's been living in Canada, and he's 98. And it's one of those things where if you were in a room with, say, your coworkers or whatever, and somebody came in and they're like, "Hey, this guy is
he fought in World War II." You're like, "Oh, that's cool."
Everybody would stand up, right? You'd give like a
standing ovation,
big round of applause, right?
Yeah,
and that's exactly what happened. All these parliamentary people stand up and give him a round of applause and whatever. And like minutes after that airs on TV or whatever, now I believe this man has been involved in like the Ukraine's fight against Russia in some way, but he's 98, so I don't know what he's been doing exactly. But yeah, like minutes after, like literally, like after this was done, people were like, he fought against. He was on the German side. He was on the Axis, the Axis side, and then started a whole sort of conversation about like, did no one Google this man?
Did no one check his Twitter posts? Did no one go?
Like, no. I mean, at this point, if you have a Twitter, you should not be standing.
Yeah,
but it was ridiculous, man. And like again, from what I heard from the news and stuff, like that, Vladimir Zelensky has direct family members that that passed away in the Holocaust. I believe he's Jewish himself, and I don't know if it's his parents or his grandparents passed away in the Holocaust. And it was the day before Rosh Hashanah, which is one of the bigger Jewish holidays. So it was just like, oh man, what a black eye! Like
that is a big fumble.
It's a huge fumble, right? And a fumble of your own doing. Like that's the thing that's crazy. Like it's not like, because when I first saw it, I thought Zelensky bought him with him.
Yeah, you would think so. I was like, oh yeah. Yeah,
he brought his guy with him or whatever. But no, this was just like we were like, haha, we have Ukrainians too. Look, we have our own Ukrainian.
Yeah, he's a war hero.
Yeah, like this guy, he does the same thing you do.
Does he? What did he do? Oh, wait, did no one vet him? Like, shit.
I just saw his. Yeah, it's actual equivalent. It's the actual equivalent of reading the headline and then just making like your own decision based on that.
Not a single fuck was given this day.
It's that, and like I believe I heard yesterday that the Speaker of the House is resigning because of this.
Oh, so they are. This article's like a few days old at this point. So
I have to double check it, but I'm pretty sure that I heard that he was resigning, and it is a big deal because I believe he's, if not the first person to ever resign, he's one of a very small list. So yeah,
is that Rhoda? Because they keep mentioning Rhoda?
Yeah, Rhoda.
Yeah. Is this really his only mistake, or is there other things that we shouldn't really dive into?
No, this is the Rota.
Wait, so he's getting resigned for just? I'm not gonna lie, it's a big mistake, but I don't think it's a mistake to kind of resign.
I mean,
it's bad. It's bad. I'm not gonna.
It's bad.
It's bad. I'm not gonna like showcasing a Nazi is bad, but it's like that's one. How long has he been in office? If it's day one, you fuck up. Yeah, Rhoda.
Like I'm looking at this. I'm reading it up, and it's on BBC News, and it's under the how they have tags for the stories.
Yeah.
The tag for this story is just World War II.
He's an older. Yeah.
I guess when you're a Speaker of the House, like, it comes down to at least you asking or making sure, saying the yeses and nos of who is showcased at the, at Parliament and all that. So, I guess the buck stops. It's him. It's truly it's him. It's Prime Minister. It's Prime Minister Trudeau. Like somebody, there's got to be somebody who's got to be like, are we sure what this guy is saying is true? Like, Because parliamentary news for the most part, at least here in Canada, like nobody cares about it. Most Canadians don't care about it. So um, now it's so big of a news that the BBC has to bring out their friggin' World War II tags.
Yeah. Well, from what I'm looking at, just his career a little bit, he, as far as he was in office, he was in there for roughly 4 years. So I'm not gonna give him the benefit of the doubt of his year one. So he had some time and then I'm looking at other offices. He's been in government for a very long time, since 2010. No, 2005. Oh my God, 2005. So he's been around the block, so he hasn't really no cues. So yeah, he fucked up.
I think that it just comes down to the same thing, right? Just like always do your research, always make sure you know what you're talking about when you're out of the world, because truthfully, like if nobody had done their research, this
it just would have been like
Nazi would have been the guy, right?
Yeah, and it's just like, okay, just another day. But talking about research and making sure you're doing good, let's kind of talk into some fun stuff of child labor. We are proud advocates of child labor on this podcast.
This is a phenomenal segue. I love
it. So Tyson Foods and Purdue Farms face federal probe over possible child labor violations. So Tyson Foods are facing investigation into whether migrant children are among those cleaning slaughterhouses owned by two of the nation's biggest poultry providers. Are these two brands up in the north? Tyson Foods and Purdue Farms?
I've heard the names, but I'm not 100% sure if they're up here, because we got a lot of American TV, so I've definitely heard an ad or two for them. But
you probably heard Tyson's. Tyson's like the biggest one. Yeah. So actually, there's a Tyson's chicken place no more than like 30 minutes from me. And
how old are the kids that work there?
I haven't interviewed them yet. It's gonna be my top secret interview. Just wait for it. It's actually my cousin Fernando. So, the Department of Labor launched its inquiries after a published report detailed migrant kids working overnight for contractors in the company's facilities on the eastern shores of Virginia. September 18 New York Times Magazine story detailed children cleaning blood, grease, and feathers from equipment with acid and pressure hoses. Hey, come on! They have the equipment. What they're providing the essentials right there. Like, what's the problem here? I don't see a problem yet. There was So there are currently the U.S. Department of Labor Law and our division investigation opened at Purdue and Tyson Foods. No additional details can be provided as the investigations are ongoing. Come on, they can give us something.
Say cameras or something. No?
We can take legal employment and safety of each individual working in our facilities very seriously and have strict, long-standing policies in places for Purdue associates to prevent minors from working hazardous jobs in violation of the law. We recognize the systemic nature of this issue and embrace any role we can play. Oh, that's just their corporate talk from Purdue.
Yeah.
Oh, screw them. I want some actual information here. Oh, here we go. The investigation, it comes 6 months after the labor finds one of the nation's biggest sanitation services providing $1.5 million for employment more than 100 children from the ages 13 to 17.
Well, then they're giving back to the economy. 100 children.
100 children.
I met some children within those ages that have never worked a day in their lives.
Oh God, there's a bunch of people that I've worked with in recent time that doesn't feel like they've ever even touched or even lifted something. God, I want some of these children to work for me. Fuck. For shifts that are 13-hour shifts. Holy fuck.
Jesus.
Okay, these are some very dedicated kids. I won't deny that.
What is happening in Virginia?
So it's just kind of just going through a little bit. So there was 21 factories. Yeah, it's just more just giving us the definition of child labor, excusable. But yeah, it just it's just wild. It's not that we don't see it. It's just crazy when it's so corporate level and so huge. Over 100 kids at a giant company. I understand it's like like big companies like that big get contractors to come in to do some of this stuff. That's how the thing happens at my store for the cleaning jobs at our place. It gets contracted out. Like none of our employees can do anything. All the equipment they have is there, so we can't touch it and anything. Or if we damage it, it comes out of the company's pay. I understand that. So it's like one of those things like you do your stuff but it's like you kind of have to vet your contractors at that point.
This is what I mean, right? Like I'm sure at your place, you're not supposed to touch anything. The cleaning has been contracted to whoever, right? But then when that switch happens, when these people come in to like clean your store or whatever, does nobody notice that there's like a 13-year-old and like whatever coming on? There's got to be something. Like there's got to be a security guard or somebody who's just be like, "Hey, man, there were like a bunch of children here last night."
I don't know, man.
Working with acid.
I know some children like look older. I've seen I think I remember there was a 13-year-old when I was in high school who had like a full stash and everything.
That was an Indian child.
But yeah, there has to be something. When you can get away with one, maybe two, but when there's like a dozen going to different plants, something's up. Like I understand.
Somebody's got to have seen something, right? You can't always be like, "Yo, man, like I got custody of my kids today, so I just brought all 100 of them."
And look at that shit.
Actually, did you ever wait? I actually went with my father to work once when I was seven or six, very young, and he worked graveyard. Yeah, he worked graveyard. So I was just hanging out at the middle of the night.
But like when you went with your dad, like were you doing the work?
A little, not like working, but he was like, I do this, and I try to help him, but it was like a kid. And then I just hung out in a cart. I was in a cart playing my Game Boy.
So yeah, I went with my mom to her office a few times, and like whatever, would kill some time over there. But like, there was never a situation like there's just like the way this story sounds is it's like one guy. There's probably like one adult who comes out, and then like 6 kids at least. You can't bring the entire Brady Bunch with you. Okay?
Yeah, it's I could see it because I was kind of actually there was a link to another article and I just kind of skimmed through it. Apparently, during this investigation, there was one case specifically where a 15-year-old while cleaning one of the things that shred the chickens, got his arm stuck and shredded his arm, and even after 4 surgeries he still can't like unclaw his hand.
Right. Oh
yeah, so that was like the spark that led to all this.
Oh my god. Well, and also to that point, like I don't know if you like when I was a kid, when I went back to India, like I'm Indian, so like when we used to go back to India, we used to see like my like pigs getting killed before they become like roasted, before they did a roast or whatever. Same with chickens. That stuff is traumatizing when you first see it. Like you're making kids like clean up blood and defeather dead chickens. Like Jesus, man.
Trust me,
like not you.
No, so, trust me. So my dad used to do, because we lived in the south side of Chicago, so we had like a decent rat problem. Like I say, rat problem. Right. So we would even outside in our yard. So we would have the snap traps, and when they didn't die from that, so my dad says, like, look, he's still squirming. He lifted it and he's still squirming, and this my dad says, like, this is Mickey Mouse, and he just snapped it with his hand, and he did that in front of me and my like siblings and cousins. To this day, I remember it.
Oh, we didn't know. We didn't know about trauma back in the day. Yikes.
Yeah, so it's like, okay. But like yourself, like I still my family has like a large farm nearby, and so we get quote fresh meat a lot, and
Yeah.
I've seen it done. So it's not like after that. It's like you're right. It's one of those moments when that the smells, it's like I think it smells one of the most triggering memory sensors if I'm remembering
Yep.
right. So like if you smell cookies, something that triggers. You smell blood, something triggers. Smell of metal.
Yeah.
Smell it for me. The smell of like blood, like the iron and metal and like that blood
Yep.
gets to me, and it just irks me to a point. So like I can only imagine a chicken place like that bad. And
Yeah,
after
I mean,
that,
like that's the thing, right? When you hear about child labor and stuff, you think about like, at least I do, because it was kind of a big thing when I was growing up, was thinking about like sweatshops and Nike and all that
wait,
kind of stuff.
that was a worry for you?
Wasn't a worry, but that was that when I was a teenager, because I think I got about 10 years on you. So like when I was a teenager, that was like the big stories, because like
Oh, okay.
that was like the big thing, that like they would pay these, they Nike had factories in all these like third world countries
They
that were
still
building.
do. They probably still.
They 1000%, but like but that was top of mind back then. So that was the big breaking news at the time. So that always, like when you hear child labor, you used to think about things like that, and the idea that like this is so like easy that they're working in a chicken shop or whatever, like a chicken plant. But then on top of that it's in the States.
Oh, yeah.
It's States. That's crazy.
And
I thought I'd heard about this story, but I didn't realize it was in like Virginia.
yeah, it's because if anyone's ever been, because when I visit my parents, my mom has like her own chicken coop area. So
Yeah.
if anyone's ever been to a farm, and like certain animals have this certain scent. So like cow farms, whoo, you smell a cow farm. Same thing with the chicken. You just there's this scent that you will never forget. You know where you are, even if you're driving in a car. Like I'm in like wine country where I'm at. So I'm like 30 minutes from, like I said, a chicken place, and then I'm another 20 minutes from a cow place. Like, so if I drive anything, that just lingers into my car so many times. But yeah, I can only imagine. For the other thing is like, we're also in that time where this is a really shitty economy time, where it's like where your kids have to work, and that's like mostly like it's as migrant workers. I can only imagine it's probably Mexicans. I'm not gonna lie, it's Mexicans. I'll accept that. And it just, in general, it's just like you just gotta make ends meet when like the cost of food is getting higher and higher. Because I'm hearing it's about to go up 8% in the States. And yeah, I know, and it's like, it sounds like 8%. That's nothing. 8% can be a lot when you're paying like
things are getting extremely expensive here too. So like
and and then just trying to have a roof over your head is like impossible. And that's a meme on this show at this point, just talking about the housing market. It's like we've been joking about it so much to the point where it's like so sad now. It is a rough time in the 2020s at the moment. Like I don't think, what was the late 2010s that bad? I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to remember pre-pandemic. Was it that bad?
I don't know about the States, but it wasn't. There were parts of it that were bad. There were smaller. There were issues. We all, here in Canada. The housing market has always been, at least in Toronto, especially, the housing market has been really bad. It's been really expensive. It's been a lot of like outside investors coming in and buying property. So like if a building, like there are literally buildings where the ground has been broken and then every unit has been purchased because outside investors that have come in and purchased them, and then they rent them out or whatever. And I think we read a couple of weeks ago that basically the housing bubble in Toronto, in Canada and Toronto, is very like the worst in the world right now. Like it's just sort of like at this point. So it's always been bad. It's always been kind of tough. And if you were lucky enough to get a house at a certain point, then you were good. But now it's just insane. Like you could get a pizza box for like $1 million or something. Like it's ridiculous. It's not. There's a guy on TikTok. If you ever come across it, there's a guy on TikTok who compares what you could buy in Canada and for the same money what you could buy in Europe. And it's always like, here's like a 2-bedroom dilapidated house, or you could buy a castle in Scotland. Like the money is exactly the same.
Fuck me, right?
So it was like that before, but food wasn't necessarily, like groceries wasn't necessarily expensive. Or everywhere's, having got to travel a little bit this summer, everywhere is bad. Like the inflation's hit everybody. It's not just us. It's not North America. It's not thing. I don't know why, but everyone seems to blame it on their particular president or prime minister. Like over here, everyone's like, "Oh, Trudeau's the reason for inflation." I'm like, no, it's bad everywhere.
We gotta blame someone. We gotta blame
someone.
When are we gonna get the president of the earth so we can blame that individual? Just blame one person.
Yeah, but then when you do that, Mars attacks, and then it gets bad.
Then we can go to World War 17 with Mars.
Yeah. Oh no, then we'll be bad. Then Canada will go and have a standing ovation for the guy who like helped Mars.
the Martian like
yeah, we should have done our research. No, but you know what? But you're right. Like this is not a situation where we're like. I think it's sad that it's even gotten to the point where somebody has to send their kids to go work because we got to make ends meet, right? But like it's awful that the place that like it's one thing where you're like, okay, go get a job at like a grocery store or whatever, get a job that kids get, But to get a job at a place like but this poor kid's arm's gone for
like, his I don't. For as much as on top of like American medical system's garbage, but at least it's decent enough where you can actually get it healed. But it's better to lose that arm at this point that's another thing. But it sucks, and we'll if the story continues, we'll see what more happens, because no matter what, it's gonna change a few things. It's gonna probably that's one of the reasons probably the price of chicken is gonna go up, just because of the fines and all the legal battles. Like, all right, who's paying for all these legal battles? The customers.
Yeah. You want cheaper chicken? Well, we can't have it because we have to pay some adults now a fair wage.
All right. Let's kind of get out of there before we start. Like, we might get a sponsor from Tyson Chicken. Sponsor us, Tyson. we know we love you. You don't like chicken? I love chicken. Okay, so it's getting near October. Where what is your big holiday? Are you a Halloween kind of individual?
So I love Halloween, the actual day of it. So like, I'm not one of these, like, I'm gonna, we live in a condo, so it's not neither here nor there, but we're not one of these, like, we decorate our whole home and all that jazz. But I love Halloween the day. And again, because I came here when I was in my early teens, I didn't get to like celebrate Halloween as a child.
Really? Tell me a little bit about that. That actually sounds interesting. What was that? How was that growing up? Because
it was I came here when I was like 15. So like when I did my first Halloween, I was kind of dressed up in like a friend's costume or whatever, because we didn't really go buy costumes, we didn't buy our costume. And I remember going trick-or-treating with a friend who was my friend's brother, who was in the 8th grade, but was already like 5'9", 6 feet already.
God,
he's a big boy. So we would go to like houses, and they're like, you guys are too old for candy. I'm like, he's in the 8th grade. So they would just be like, you're too old for candy. And then we just never got around to like doing, the next year. Like the next year I was in grade 11, and sort of like, okay, it was not something to do. And trick or treating was not a thing where I grew up, so it was just like I never got to do it. Never got to do any of the costume stuff. And then college sort of happened, and after college, my first job, I was friends with some people who were going up to Waterloo, which is just a town, not terribly, like maybe about 45 minutes, an hour, 45 minutes, maybe. I'm getting the somebody's going to yell at me, but I'm pretty sure it's about anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour outside of town. It's where BlackBerry used to have their head office in its heyday. It's got a bunch of colleges. It's got a bunch of colleges down there. It's very much the kids who go to those colleges are pretty smart, and it's very much a college town as aside from having like a couple of these headquarters. And so we went down there to celebrate Halloween. So we like costumed it up and we went down, and I had a phenomenal time. And I was just like, everybody was dressed up. Everybody was like, all of a sudden I like was introduced to adult Halloween.
Yes, adult. That's what I was thinking. Adult Halloween.
Yeah. And adult Halloween was just like crazy fun. Like you could be whoever you wanted. You could have conversations with people, and the people who got into it really like enjoyed it, unironically, and just like had fun with it. And so from there onwards, I've just really, really enjoyed Halloween the day because it's been great. And I always look back to 2020 as a missed opportunity because Halloween 2020 was on a Saturday, I believe. Yes, it was on a Saturday, and it was the Saturday when we had the time change. So we also had an extra hour. And we were all locked inside. So there was really nothing we could do. And particularly over here, we were in a double lockdown. So it just nothing came out of it, unfortunately. But yeah, no, I really do love Halloween. I'm not necessarily like spooky season guy, but I'm interested in Halloween. So that aside, what is this story about?
So let's so let's kind of jump into a story. So apparently,
actually, sorry, are you a Halloween guy?
I am a horror guy. So the time of Halloween's great when I'm like getting into the mood of scary stuff. So like for the month of October, I listen to like horror short stories. I just kind of get into that realm. I don't think I've been more so maybe these last 2 years I've been more into the quote adult Halloween. There's a theme park. I would say a theme park. It's one of those places that has like a bowling alley, go-karts and stuff like that. They host adult nights. But one of the best ones is Halloween nights where everyone dresses up. You get drinks on the low end and everything's just fun. And that's kind of what I kind of re-sparked my quote Halloween spirit. I will say that as cheesy as it sounds, right? But it's a reason for me to get out too. But yeah, it for me, Halloween's more of just I enjoy a good scare, a good like something that just like puts me on edge. Right. Just that's for me is Halloween recently. More in the last year since my nephew just got into the age where he can go trick or treating. I think that's rejuvenating. I don't know for you and your kids, that just rejuvenated my trick or treating spirit.
Yeah, my nephew did the same for me, so it was amazing seeing it through his eyes.
So yeah, so it's just like, okay, I'm gonna take him. I'll dress up as something because he wants me to dress up as something. Like I'll put a mask on and like, no, too scary. Like, what do you want me to dress up as? So it's reinvigorated that level of the trick or treating spirit. You kind of see at that point, and then I get to steal some of his candy. The candy tax, the candy tax. Now we can do candy tax.
So, oh no, this one's definitely got a razor in it.
Oh God, I remember those news stories. God, but those are old stories. Let's find out what we're talking about now, because we're talking about a demon doll known as Chucky. We all know who Chucky is, but apparently it's been arrested down in Mexico for wielding a knife and demanding money.
Now, this is a child labor law.
I don't know, man.
This is a child labor story.
I think the spirit that inhabited Chucky was like a what is it? A 32-year-old
serial
killer?
killer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So,
he can get away with it. You know.
Yeah.
What
The hell?
what we could say is all those children were all being possessed by old mine workers. You know.
That's what Purdue and Tyson's gonna say. Yeah.
Like they're all possessed. Okay, they're all possessed.
Yeah.
Okay, so in a what seems to be a straight out of horror movie, Mexican authorities apprehended a sinister Chucky doll, not for playing games, but for wielding a knife and allegedly demanding money from people. Its owner, Carlos, employed the notorious demon doll to wield a genuine knife. Oh, it was a real knife. Oh shit. Okay. Sending shivers to unsuspecting locals. Wow, this guy's a terror. The eerie incident unfolded in Monclova, a city located in northern Mexico state of Cholula, on September 11th. The owner has been arrested as well. Reports suggested that Carlos was under the influence of illicit substance. Okay, that makes sense. When he decided to parade Chucky, the character made infamous in the 1988 horror film Child's Play, through the city's main square. I'll admit, Child's Play is the reason why I hate dolls to this day. That induced doll horror for me. I will not. I'll admit that on this show. A doll with a real knife in hand was used to frighten and disturb the peace of the passerbyers, demanding money from them. The law enforcement swiftly intervened, arresting the duo for disturbing the public order and endangering the public, and allegedly collecting extorted money. Oh, he actually got money out of it. Damn. He put the doll in their faces and was scaring people in an offensive, and for reasons he was arrested. And then there's an image of just the cops doing a mugshot of Chucky. And they had
saw that.
And they had handcuffs on him. Oh god.
So was this I'm trying to figure it out in my head. Like, was it kind of like a puppet situation, I guess?
It's a doll. I think I've seen these Chucky dolls before.
Yeah. Like, okay, so the guy obviously is separate from the doll. So like, how is he controlling the doll? Is it like a remote control thing? Or?
I think he was literally just going, dame dinero, voy a matar, something like that. I'm gonna murder you. That's the only way, because I'm looking at the doll. It looks like the doll I've seen go around. It's just one of those big old Chucky dolls that are just.
I just Googled it while you were talking, and I saw the picture of them, like taking the video of them taking pictures of the doll. What a bizarre story.
Yeah.
And also kind of connected to all the other stories we just talked about.
Yeah, basically, just people getting mugged, like child labor, wrongfully agreeing with people, getting mug shots.
Illicit drugs. Like,
oh my god. Some people, man. It looks like he got money out of it, so it worked. It worked somehow. Oh god, stupid ad.
I mean, I guess if you hit the right kind of, if you have the right kind of trauma, something like that would be, like, get the hell away from me. But wow.
Hey man, he wanted to start Halloween early and then get some money out of it.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, I'm trying to, obviously, it's not great content if I'm just sitting over here going wow in disbelief. But I'm just like, I'm just trying to like think about how this would come about. Like one, the fact that just a doll with a knife was, I mean, granted, Chucky is the scariest motherfucking doll out there, but like a doll with a knife was good enough to like get money off of people and like disturb the peace out of most places. It doesn't seem like it was controlled in any way, and it doesn't seem like it was, it was a puppet coming out.
No, it was
of
not like it was not
like,
getting puppeteered or anything. I think the guy was just holding.
He's just like standing there with a knife, and I guess, and then also the fact that this guy managed to do all of that while high on whatever the hell he was while he had. That's pretty impressive. But because when you first said this, I thought it was a guy dressed up as Chucky. Like when you said the headline, I thought that's what it was. It was like a guy dressed up like Chucky. That makes sense. And the fact that they arrested him That's the other bizarre thing where they like arrested the puppet.
you got it. My God. So I'm just kind of looking through this article. There's nothing really more. They arrested him. It just.
El sujeto se quiso pasar de listo al querer asaltar a los pacientes en la plaza principal utilizando el muñeco diabólico Chucky. Se acercaba a la gente y de la risa acudiendo a la unidad SP228 que realizó la detención del sujeto y del muñeco diabólico al cual también se le colocaron las esposas.
I'm just watching. I'm just listening to the video.
Yeah.
I'm like the audience heard that. It's just he doesn't even meet the thing. I like how they set from what I'm watching I'm watching the video a little, and you can see the guys just they push the Carlos. I think that was the name of the other guy. They push Carlo to the side and they take the photo of Chucky first. He gets first shot. We know who the star is for this. We know who the star is.
Yeah, Chucky's always been the star. So let's
we get his shot first. Like you stay back. It's wild. It's once again one of those things where it's like if it's children are in there, you could really traumatize kids. Like I was traumatized as a kid with the movie. Now, oh god, yep, full circle. We just full circled this whole thing.
There we go. This is why they pay you the big bucks. You know how to like put these things together.
Thank you. You know, I can't help it with my wonderful host here. But yeah, that's a good way to close it. Actually, you know, everyone, I hope you've been enjoying this. Our hosts, we've been getting a lot of fun guest hosts. Liz will be coming just around the corner. October's midway, somewhere around there. Liz is getting better, but yes, soon. But you know, I hope you've been enjoying our fun guests. Dwen's been wonderful. It's been really fun to catch up with him, catch up with the other lost members of Inner Monologue. But yeah, I genuinely am happy to have them on. Dwen, thank you for joining me here.
Thank you for having me, man. This was a lot of fun. It was good, like you said, catching up and seeing you again. Felt for a while there. Like I think all of 2018, 2019, we were in each other's lives quite a bit, considering we weren't in the same.
We're literally like coast to coast. We're literally coast to coast. Yeah, but yeah, we've had anyone listening. I've been on their show. They've been on my show multiple times. So there's other episodes that Dwen's been on. So yeah, if you want more, there's still episodes out there. You can go back and listen. I really listen to No Winner Monologue. There's a couple episodes that are fun to listen to. But yeah, like I said, on top of that, your art's wonderful. It's fun. There's been times I've been trying to get commissioned, but I never know what the idea I want to get commissioned. It's like I want this, but then I'm like, no. But yeah, so maybe we might work on something, a new merch idea. I
would love to, yeah.
But yeah, everyone.
You know what? I still actually, I don't want to dive good, but I always think about the fact that when I had asked for some drawing ideas years ago, you came up with the wildest one where you were just like a gorilla on the back of a giraffe.
Yeah.
And I honestly had so much fun doing it. I've always thought about going back and retrying it just to see what it would do. So yeah.
Oh, maybe everyone. Let us know in the comments. You know what the funny is? The reason I had that idea, I don't know if I sent you the photo. I actually have a gorilla riding a giraffe. That's why I said it. I have these two little plushies. They're yay big. It's just a little giraffe, and I had this gorilla wearing a cap, and I just put him on there, and it was perfect. And they just said, I don't have it in my current office. It's somewhere in my room. But yeah, that's the only reason I said that. It's just a goofy looking little stuffed animals. That's why. But you did a wonderful job illustrating that. The idea came, but it's one of those things. I saw it, it'd be funny, and I'm glad that just sparked your memories. Those core memories just spark. But yeah, everyone.
Oh man, bro.
Thank you, Dwen. Thank you for joining me. Everyone, thank you for listening. As always, remember, you can share this on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. That Facebook is still out there. People still use Facebook. Share the show. Word of mouth. Let people know about the show. You know, it helps us out a lot. We've been growing a lot in the last couple years. Now that we've gone video, people are actually seeing our faces and telling us how ugly we are sometimes. But, you know, we'll take that. We'll take engagement. We don't care.
eye of the beholder, Jesus. Do
Exactly.
not miss it.
Exactly. And if you want to support us financially, and maybe one day, we might be working with Dwen on a collab here, and purchase merch at merch.tyrantdominus.com. It really helps us out in the long run. And yeah, Dwen, thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Everyone, thank you for listening or watching. Until next time, see ya.